The galaxy's greatest comic has not always meant the galaxy's greatest movies or indeed games, computer, board or otherwise. But thankfully these things come and go. Sometimes they reappear with improvements, sometimes they do not. Last time we had a look at this particular nugget, it was of course the base game for Helter Skelter, the Judge Dredd crossover into the whole Wildlands thing. Now, we were not left overly impressed. We admired the quality of the contents, thought that was really nice. We liked the miniatures and the cards, game board, factored in insert and all the rest of it. Everything about it was lovely, but the gameplay was a little bit straightforward, dry. It wasn't the most exciting. Why then, you might ask, would you even bother getting your hands on an expansion for it? Well, for one thing, it's the Dark Judges, the coolest baddies outside of Daleks. It has to be said, when it comes to evil, the Dark Judges had it. More recent incarnations in the comic may have added a comical bent to their wanton destruction of all life being a crime, but largely it remains that they were pretty good bad guys as bad guys went. And, as Anthrax said, they wouldn't have been defeated if Judge Anderson hadn't won the fight. Nice box, pretty artwork, classic comic book stuff right there, and begs us to have a look inside at what should be a rather lovely experience. We flip it over. Let's have a look on the back. On the back, we get our first hint that something might be amiss. We can see the miniatures that we're going to get, but none of the other components, though there is a rundown of what's in there: cards, tokens, rules, that sort of thing. We don't expect an awful lot much in this. Every faction requires a set of models, a set of cards to command it, and a few tokens to help sort of monitor things as they go on in the game. This expansion, however, does give us the added bonus of solo play rules, where you can tick your base game of Helter Skelter, choose any one of your factions, and go up against the Dark Judges themselves. And that, in our humble opinion, was the worthwhile reason for getting our hands on this. It takes a 4-player game and throws it down to the option of being able to play it on your own. In this time of isolation and COVID, that's probably not a bad option to have. But that being said, there was a moment of disappointment. Let's go inside the box to further explore that moment of disappointment. Remember this iconic artwork on the front, and then let's dive inside the box. Inside the box, we get a sorting tray. It is one disappointment, I suppose, that we can have to live with, is that the base game can't contain any expansions. There's not enough room in there. So do look after your little boxes if you get the extras that come out, because you're going to want somewhere to keep them nice and safe. We got our little rule book, and again, that classic Judge Death image from the original comics. Lovely. Of course, art, as you can tell, by one of the maestros himself. We flick in through, and it's much as we'd expect. The core rulebook for the base game was very nicely laid out. It explained everything very well, and the presentation and explanations for this little expansion, what it does and how the solo rules work, is no different. You're going to have a deck that essentially is your AI that you're up against when you're playing the Dark Judges, but when you're playing them as a faction themselves, they've got a command deck as you would hope for. That done. There we go, our little special rules in the back, and of course our credits to Rebellion 2000 AD and Osprey. And then boom, we're into the meat and potatoes. But wait, let's pause a moment, shall we? Let's keep on the positives for now. We have our 4 tokens. They are the same good, thick, hard cardstock, and nothing disappointing there. Nothing overly impressive. we know what to expect. We then get our reference cards, and our reference cards, of course, here giving us the solo mode breakdown for quick and easy looking at. And there's all our little tables and chances showing on the back the same, very handy, and I found them well laid out in the previous game and easy to use. Judge Fire, again, fantastic illustration, and there we go, the dead mode where he turns into his spirit form. Judge Fear, the same. Judge Mortis, there we go, and of course the master himself, Judge Death. Lovely stuff. Then we have the two sections of cards. These are mixed at the moment, but we have the cards for the solo game and the cards as expected for your faction. Just trying to find the breakpoint in them because they are just sandwiched together there. Not that we're going to run through all of these with you, but you have the smaller deck with the artwork on it here, which is used in the solo game mode. And the options pretty much play kind of fairly much as the standard game, to be honest. But they kind of make the decisions for you based on who's available. Okay. But to differentiate that deck from a faction deck, it has the solo game printed on it, and that's nice. And then, of course, if you are taking direct command of them in the game yourself, you get the standard faction deck as you would expect. Not as busy. Nice picture of the Grand Hall of Judgment on Dead World there, which is a nice little touch. Nice homage back to the first appearances again. And if you've played the base game, you will be on very comfortable ground with how that all works. So, no surprises. Nothing leaping out at us that makes us kind of go, wasn't expecting that. Judge Fire. A nice version of Judge Fire there. Again, it's that pre-inked style as with the base game that came out. So you don't have to paint them, but if you decide to paint them, you know what, they are sitting there and they're ready for you. And the detail on Judge Fire is very, very pleasing. Judge Mortis has a little bit of the Kenneth Williams going on about him there, but it's a fairly good Judge Mortis pose overall for a single cast miniature. And again, all his accoutrements and whatnot are there, and he looks the part. Nice enough. Judge Death. Looks to be a tad surprised. I've got to say, myself and everyone that I've shown to has kind of gone, what? Why is he standing like that? It's literally, surprise! It doesn't really evoke scary Judge Death. It doesn't even quite evoke comical Judge Death. Now, we have had a little look at it. His arm is joined at the thumb here at the shoulder pad. We've severed it. This side seems reasonably free from anything else. And what we've realised is that if we can heat the arms up and bend them forward, he will essentially be doing that classic kind of comic book pose, which is what you'd have wanted. Instead, because of the method of casting, his hands are kind of up at his sides and he looks like he's just leapt up out of a birthday cake on stage. Judge Fear, scariest of them all, is sadly in pretty much the exact same pose. He is literally going, well, me, I didn't do it. No idea, Governor. It was like that when I got here. How his hands aren't modelled, up to the mask as if he's about to open it. Or indeed, since it was one cast, could they not have done it in such a way where the faceplate was open and that black void inside could have been there? We just felt there was such iconic characters coming out in the first expansion. That same kind of attention to detail and thought for presentation would have been there for the Dark Judges. I mean, it's the Dark Judges. Seriously, they deserve the very best that you can give them. This isn't some whimsical throwaway. If this was the Angel Gang, which would make a perfectly adequate expansion for Helter Skelter, the Angel Gang, nobody's really going to care too much what poses they're in. They're the Angels. If it was Call Me Kenneth and some of the robots from the Robot Wars, a group of selves judges, nobody's going to sort of get too fretsy about all that. But to bring the Dark Judges out and not give them anything else short of comic book poses is a little bit disappointing. That's the bottom line. Price-wise, I can't remember. It's in the £20 something mark. There are a few places out there doing it a little bit less, the likes of Wordly and people like that there. So if you shop around, you will be able to find this at reasonable monies. I think we ended up achieving this one for about £18, which I've got to say, that would have been my top ceiling on this. I kind of felt like I was still paying for postage, even though postage was free. But yeah, there we go. That's what it is. You know us, we don't sit here and sort of tell you things awesome just because it's something that we love, or a franchise that we love, or by a company that we like and respect and admire. But equally, we normally don't even talk about it if we don't like it. The thing is, there is a lot to like here. The solo rules make sense. The solo rules are a nice addition to the game and add value, we felt, to a game that sadly fell a little bit short of its value. That a game that had been so well produced, such attention to detail, such good quality, and it just fell down in terms of gameplay. Now, that could be nothing more than perhaps a lack of appreciation for the core system that it's based on. But we sort of feel that whenever a certain theme is applied to a game, it's your responsibility to make that game live up to the theme that's involved, be it the Judges, be it the Dark Judges, or Nicola Dante, or any of the other characters from the comic book. They have a wide, varied background and range of stories that have been built up over the years, and yet Helter Skelter doesn't care about that. There is a slim veneer of a plot which applies to all factions and plays out the exact same way, and only variations on the theme give them any factional difference, really. So, a shame in some respects, but equally, you know what, it is what it is, and fans of the system, I think, enjoy it for what it is, and it gives them a different way of playing a game that they enjoy. Collectors, no doubt, quite happy to pick it up. If it's got the name on the box, they'll be happy too. Is it a disappointment overall? Well, no. It does work. It does play. It's just, I don't think, going to be your main game of the night. It'll be a game you play before you get on to playing something that everyone is looking forward to. But there we have it. That's the expansion. That's what you get inside it, and hopefully if you have been sort of toying around with thinking about that, that will help you decide whether you're going to go and bite for it now, or whether you'll wait and see if you can get that at a couple of shillings less than the current price perhaps. Meanwhile, behave, stay indoors, obey the law.